This week, we're going to be talking about breath work, what it is, how we can do it, and why it's so incredibly beneficial to our mindfulness practice and our everyday life. Look, guys, here's the thing. You are breathing more than you are doing almost anything else. Even when you're sleeping, you are still breathing. Breath work has been used for centuries. We used our breath as a way to regulate our nervous system. And one of the problems that started to happen with modern civilization was that we started to not breathe very well. Let's face it, stress is one of the #1 killers in the world. There's a reason why cardiovascular disease is on the top pinnacle for the reason for death in this country. Think about your breathing as a way to be able to tune into your nervous system, to teach your brain whether it should be in fight, flight, or be calm and relaxed. To better understand this, we need to take it all the way back anthropologically to before we were even humans. We got to take it all the way back to the animal kingdom. I want you to imagine that there's a deer just gently grazing in a pasture, minding its own business. It's in a totally relaxed state. And out of nowhere, it senses a predator. And immediately, it starts to freeze. Its breath becomes very shallow, and it starts to move from its belly up into its chest, trying to assess what's going on. And then the chase is on. It's hyperventilating as a way to try to just keep itself moving as fast as it possibly can. Eventually, it evades that threat. And the moment that it evades that threat, it starts to downregulate. And before you know it, that animal is just back to that very calm and relaxed state, as if nothing ever happened. Wouldn't it be nice for us as human beings to do that? Imagine the last time you got a ping on your Slack channel at work, and you hear that sound, and you look at that thing, and immediately your heart starts racing. Your breath starts to constrict because this is the predator. This is the modern day predator. Problem is, when do we evade it? Almost never. We constantly get into a place where we're chest breathing, not actually down regulating our nervous system, and before you know it, we are just a wound up ball of stress waiting to be exploded. It doesn't have to be that way. We can relearn what all of our animal ancestors have known and have kept this entire time. But the first thing we have to do is we have to come back to our breath. Why is it that certain ways of breathing amplify our energy and other ways of breathing downregulate our nervous system? It all comes back to form following function. When we are in rest and digest, what would we have been doing in tribal society? We'd have been squatting down around our community. We'd have been eating food. We'd have been looking out in nature. We'd have been in a place where we knew, hey, there's no threat around. I can relax my belly, nothing's gonna attack me, I don't need to be prepared for anything. Then what happens when the threat comes? Our body needs to mobilize more oxygen into our muscles to be able to run. It needs to get adrenaline and norepinephrine and cortisol coursing through our bodies, activate our muscles, and run away. If we are, let's say, fighting or running away, we start to exasperate more energy than what the muscles that allow us to breathe in our belly can hold. And that necessitates us starting to breathe more from our chest and our ribs. As we pull our ribs apart, we start to open up our lungs more. These different types of breathing happen naturally in animals between when they are grazing or when they are running for their life. I want you to imagine that every single time that you get stressed out, it's like you are running for your life. How many times do you run for your life a day? Now the question is, how many times do you evade the threat and allow your brain to know that the threat is gone and that you can relax? I'm gonna guess almost never. It was easy when we had threats outside of us to know when the threat was gone. But what happens when the threat is conceptual? What happens when every single email that comes through is that tiger chasing you? Every single time that you get away, you never actually get away because you're just anticipating, you're just waiting for the next email to come through. And this is extremely draining. This is why we have such poor health. Our nervous system was not designed for this. Our nervous system was designed to have very short-term threats and then a long period of pause. We have to tell our brain when the threat is gone. Otherwise, our brain will not know the threat is gone. And the way that we do that is through breath work. Imagine if in a situation at work and everyone else was freaking out trying to figure this out, you could just bring a sense of calm into the room. How many people would you put at peace in that moment just by being able to do the one thing that they can't, to learn how to tell your brain that it's okay, how to use your breath to do what is ultimately your birthright, to choose how long you want to hold on to things and when you want to let them go. There are a million different types of breath work, and there are still more coming. From holotropic breath work to transcendental breath work in meditation, respiratory alkalosis to something like CO2 tolerance or breath holds. But ultimately, every single breath work comes back to one of two different things. Does it stimulate your nervous system? Does it downregulate your nervous system? Every single one of these different breaths does one of those two things, and that's it. So it really is a lot more simple than people make it out to be. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the neuroscience of breath work and why breathing is the easiest way to tell your brain where you want to be in your nervous system. We have two different branches of our autonomic nervous system called the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic branch of our nervous system is our fight-flight response. The parasympathetic is our rest and digest. The main thing that helps to control this is our vagus nerve. Vagus means wandering. Basically, it's the longest nerve in the body. It literally goes from your brainstem all the way to the bottom of your organs. It keeps balance in the body. When our vagus nerve gets dysregulated, it can cause things like digestive issues, issues with breathing, heart palpitations, heart function, and it can even start to cause issues with our vocalization of words. Vagus nerve actually connects to our breathing. When we get stressed out, our vagus nerve will actually stimulate that hyperventilatory response. But it's a two-way street, which means that if we start calming our breath, our vagus nerve will naturally send those feelings of calm back up to the brain. It's not a light switch. It's not like it turns on and off. It's a dimmer switch, and you have the capacity to start shifting where that is depending on what you're doing with your breathing. In the next video, I'm going to give you a more detailed understanding of the anatomy of breathing, and I'm going to show you some releases that you can do to yourself to release the fascia that helps you with breathing so that you can breathe easier and connect to these different parts of your breath. So I'll see you in the next video.